So hello everyone. Again we are meeting again back for the public administration lecture. Hope you all doing fine. And the last lecture we had talked about the two streams of developments that took place in the second phase. Okay, starting from Wilson 1887 to 1900, and 1900 when the Goodenough comes with his politics and administration book. Fine, the Goodenough actually lays the foundation for dichotomy rather than the Wilson. Okay, Wilson became popular quite late also. Okay, the moment he became the president, probably that was one of the reasons for his popularity. Fine, and his essay became quite known during his era only. So it was Goodenough who could be credited with the idea of dichotomy. And so 1887 to 1900 is the phase of analytic politics administration dichotomy. I'm doing a recap of what we did, right? And from 1900 to 1926, we talked about was the phase of the development of principles, right? And this phase basically led to the division of the emergence of discipline of Pabad into two major streams of thought, two major ideologies, fine, or you can say dominant schools. One was the management dominated, other was the political science dominated. Obviously, the political science is the mother discipline of public administration, but management became very dominant because of the industrial revolution we talked about. That was the phase of mass production, and you know that the new the scientific management movement and the Taylor, the emergence and the dominance of Taylor's scientific movement or scientific management movement, okay, emerges during that era itself, right? So this two streams of thought widely broken, okay, that aspect we have discussed, right? So this is the timeline starting from 1887 to 1900 to 1926 or 27 onwards, right? Which again, further, this entire phase from 1927 to 1937, and here you see the bifurcation from this particular era takes place. One, dominated by the political science, and the other by the management. Okay, this aspect we have already discussed, so I'm not writing it very elaborately. Fine. So there were two. Now, a number of scholars got associated dominantly with the management aspect, the management view of public administration, sometimes also referred to as the industrial view of public administration. Fine. The efficiency perspective of public administration, right? So that was also one aspect, and the other was political science. Now, the political science perspective was more coming from the democratic constitutional aspect. Now, Wilson can be credited with both, right? Wilson talks about the science of administration. So, the science of administration and the business, making the study of administration more business-like or less unbusiness-like. That is what Wilson said. So, that aspect gives push towards the management orientation. Fine. The principles of management, efficiency, productivity as the key aspects or goals of public administration. Fine. And public administration would be no more concerned with the social, cultural, political aspects. Will be more concerned with doing things in a defined and efficient manner. Whereas the other aspect that he talks about is the science of administration. The science of administration was mostly related to a defined body of knowledge, a body of knowledge which could be put into a form of discipline. Okay, the discipline would have its own independent or autonomous existence away from the field of political science, and at the same time, it will develop principles to understand the day-to-day administration and its problems. Fine. So Wilson's agenda was also quite big. It was more of a vision. Now, this timeline that we trace, so here you will see the dominant influence of management theories and one aspect going towards the political science, right? This is very clear. This was the recap that we did. So I made a diagram, I think that day. If you've seen the previous lecture, lecture number 4. Fine. This is our PA, the concept, lecture number 5. Right. So this was the Burrell and Morgan's classification, right? So Burrell and Morgan. Now they actually define the cosmos, the entire scope of the study of public administration, right? And this scope of public administration, if you see, right, it now these quadrants you can say one from the organizational perspective, fine, the other from the political perspective, right? One is more from the positivist or positive empirical, that is more of science, and one is from the normative, fine, or value based. Okay, this is more fact based. Now combinations of this political empirical, organizational empirical, organizational normative, political normative. Now the combination of these would help us understand the domain of theories and principles that emerged in public administration. So somewhere we highlighted it something like this. So this was a kind of movement, right? There were a number of developments which would overlap in this. Okay, if you talk about new public administration, right? Political normative. If you talk about new public management, okay, political empirical. If you talk about public choice approach, political empirical, right? If you talk about the scientific management, organizational empirical, right? If you talk about major behavioral theories, they will also come under empirical, but then post-behavioral theories will come under organizational normative, right? David Easton comes under this, post-behavioralism, postmodernism. So there are various theories, okay, which you can divide, you can simplify it, understand it. In fact, this is a very good diagram that you can use in the examination. You can get a lot of marks with this diagram, fine, and this will help the examiner easily understand actually the way the theories evolved and what were the domain and the scope of these theories, right? The academic part. So this diagram kindly remember. Now let us move ahead with the timeline. So you can say from 1887 to 1900, right? 1900 to 1926 or 27, right? 1927 somewhere to 1937, right? 1937 to technically 1950. This can be one phase, right? Now this is the dichotomy phase, right? This is your principles management dominated phase, fine. And this phase now is the move towards the discipline and identity of public administration. So here is more of, you can say, we get a lot of neo phases. It is kind of a neo phase, neo positivism, behavioralism. Okay, they are all the developments in this phase. Okay, so the major developments now over time, obviously, these developments evolved. Then 1950 to 1970 were actually public administration of a new discipline altogether, right? It acquires a kind of autonomy. Then 1970, right, to 1990, right? The focus is more on the governance aspect, even though 1990 specifically comes with the governance aspect. 70 to 90, right, is more focused on the market orientation, the domination of market, the emergence of many other developments like NPA, NPM, PCT, they all evolved here, right? So if we now simplify this timeline, let us say, to give you a normal understanding what exactly the things evolved, let us say simplify it. this way. Okay, let us simplify it this way. So we'll take from here 1887. Even though prior to this, you can say many things evolved, we are not taking that into consideration. But let us say, I think this is not visible, right? So let us simplify it and talk about the 1887 fine to 1900 to 1926 to 1937 to 1950 technically to 1970 to 1990, then from 1990 to 2002, fine, 2002 to 2008, then 2008 to 2000, let us say 14 can be one, right? And then 2014 to 2020, your corona crisis comes in, right? Now the challenges to governance, theoretical developments, all can fall in this. So I will simplify it and write those things here so that you can have a good table which you can keep with yourself, right? So here the dichotomy, right? Here the principles, right? Here the growth of behavioralism and other aspects. So basically it is a phase of challenge, right? And so you can say the growth of behaviorism or behaviorism and behavioralism in this phase, right? Here 50 to 70, we have a constraint of space right now. So 50 to 70 fine is can be considered as the phase of later behavioralism, right? Or even post behavioralism, dominated mostly by the rise of new public administration, public choice perspective, and all those things. So its focus was more on post behavioralism. In fact, your systems and contingency models mostly evolved in this phase. 1970 to 90, right? The dominance of the market, or technically the NPM phase, right? The good governance phase and the globalization. Right? And other aspects, like at the level of organizational theories, okay, there was structural contingency models coming, a postmodernism emerging, dominant, fine. Then within this, you can have your Blacksburg Manifesto 1982, that was also a dominant development, right? 1919 onwards is more about the globalization, good governance, right? And you can say the market domination. This is a post-globalization phase. So there were a lot of other developments which influenced this era. In fact, there were more of dialectics. There was a conflict between the market and state, state versus market. You must be knowing 2001, okay, 9/11 crisis, then 2008 economic crisis. But yes, within this phase, it was more of the dominance of the globalization. Whereas in 2002 comes the NPS, the new public service, right? 2007 comes the public value approach, public value approach. Okay, Mark Moore, fine. Then you have 2007, 4, 5, somewhere you get the concept of neo-Weberian state, NWS, which is like leaning more towards the bureaucracy. In fact, this entire phase from somewhere 1920s to 1990s, you can say, was the bureaucracy phase, dominated by the bureaucracy, the bureaucratic institutions, right? So 2008 to 14 onwards were now more about the communitarian phase, the domination of community, civil society, okay, participatory form of government, participatory management, alternative institutions to bureaucracy, alternative structures to bureaucracy, they all emerged. In fact, huge criticism of bureaucracy comes, right? 2014 to 20 onwards, right, is more of the integration. But here, the move is more towards the localization. So how to counter the globalization and how we can restrict the negative consequences of globalization, cultural conflicts happening in number of developing societies and all those. So now if you see, this is a kind of general timeline within which you can divide various theoretical and functional, that means socio-political developments that were taking place globally, okay, and the impact of the integration of the world, and at the same time what were the theoretical developments which were trying to understand that, right? And I have neglected one important aspect, but basically the because this is more of the influence of the American public administration here. But when you think of this post 1945, the Second World War phase, here we see, or we can break this entire development into another stream emerging from here, right? So if you have taken this, it will be more easy for me. So if you take from here, right? So somewhere here, if you see 1945, so 1945, you can see a break here, and 1945 onwards, you see the emergence of developing societies, right? And these developing societies, for them now, you see the emergence of something like the CPA, Comparative Public Administration, fine, the emergence of Development Administration or Neo Development Administration, fine, and anti-development models or anti-development or counter-development models, anti-development thesis. Okay, they also emerge at the same time. So this gives you the entire scope of the timeline, the theories that emerge in public administration now, to obviously improve our interlinkage and understanding of various topics that we can do together. Find how we can simplify our syllabus, how we can, just by studying, let's say 4 or 5 units, we can cover the entire paper one. For that aspect, now this timeline or remembering this timeline is very important. Okay, and so we can very easily integrate them. Okay, what happens, what is the cause and what is the effect, what is the relationship, and how these changes have impacted the society, or the society impacted or triggered these changes, and then how these theories or these concepts are interlinked to each other. Fine. The biggest problem comes is when we try to understand now in terms of theories, right? These are the major developments which are theoretical as well as socio-political, both. That means the change happening in society and political systems, the government decisions, and at the same time how the theories are responding to these changes. So you can understand it is a kind of the mix of the uh, theory practice integration, right? So this is basically our timeline was related to the theory plus the practice, how they mix together, which you call as the praxis. So it was basically praxis of public administration that we're trying to understand. Obviously, most of the times, the theory may precede the practice. In public administration, obviously, practice preceded the theory, right? And the theories could not come in tandem, in tune with the practical developments of the society, and that is still a very big, you can say, question mark on the ability or the credibility of public administration as a subject, that how it is going to restore a balance between the theory and practice, what administrators are doing and witnessing in the field, and can we have an answer to those problems, right? or can we predict the problems beforehand and then provide the solutions for them? Fine. So praxis becomes a very big important issue. For that, we need to know the timelines. The timelines will help us in decoding the length and breadth of the question that you get in the paper one. Also, the timeline will help you in knowing the actual undercurrent behind a particular question. Fine. The next important aspect comes is when we talk about the various uh, philosophical influences on the emergence of these developments. Right. Philosophical influences, I mean, is that what were the schools of thought that basically dominated the emergence of theories? How did the scholars try to understand the public administration from different perspectives? Right. Every perspective, or you can say every framework which scholars used, that every framework can be called as the approach. Right. Approach is a way of viewing things. Approach is a conceptual framework of viewing things. Fine. So when we say what is your approach to this problem, right? You might know the problem, you might not know the problem. But when we say of approach, approach is the way you are able to, or you are able to understand or comprehend a problem, and then you're going to solve it. Right? You can break it into parts also. Right. So approaches are a very big issue in public administration. Okay, most of these approaches dominate your paper one, right? Starting from the classical versus traditional, or classical, what is traditional, what is positivism, and so it is more about the isms of PubAd, right? So we'll have uh, one more, you know, topic on that, and slowly see we are improving things for you. Now we have a podium also, right? So it seems to be more of a class now, right? You can understand without the right tools. Okay, no person, however skilled he is, can actually show his craft, right? So slowly we are improving, we are adding things for you, right? So we have a podium today, fine, and maybe in future we'll keep adding many things to this. So don't worry, we'll be, taking away again uh, another lecture just after this. Another series that will come, the lecture number 6 would be dealing with the isms of PubAd, right? Isms are very important. They are more of ideologies. Okay, that is more of the epistemology of PubAd. Epistemology is a very big term coming from philosophy, which talks about the root, the source of knowledge of the particular idea, fine, or a framework, okay, or any conceptual understanding that we have developed. What is the academic basis? What is the philosophical basis of that? That is basically the epistemology. Epistemology, knowing epistemology is very important in order to understand what Taylor did and why Taylor did, what Weber did and why actually Weber felt that way, right? And how can we differentiate between Taylor and Weber also, or Weber and the later theorists, likewise. So we'll be talking about the isms in our next lecture. So keep watching. Okay, stay tuned to that. Thank you so much for your